Do you think there's a chance Israel will attack Iran?
There is a serious risk that Israel might attack Iran. Nobody seems to be able to know for sure. Obviously, that's part of the secrecy.
How would that affect the region? We're talking about possibly global actors coming in and it becoming a wide-scale conflict.
It would certainly completely throw the region into a whole set of new possibilities. If Israel attacks Iran, even within such a possibility, there could be several outcomes, several scenarios. It's possible that Iran might absorb the attack, withdraw from the non-proliferation treaty, and begin rapidly moving towards a nuclear weapon, which is what many fear, that if Iran is attacked, it will have a legitimate excuse to build a nuclear weapon.
And then what happens after that?
So that's one scenario, that they simply absorb the attack, they do not really retaliate, they withdraw from the non-proliferation treaty, they go towards a bomb, as Pakistan did, as India did, as North Korea did, and so on. And we could then be in a different Middle East in which Israel has nuclear weapons, and Iran and Pakistan and India have nuclear weapons. Now that in itself might have repercussions. Saudi Arabia might want nuclear weapons. Turkey might want nuclear weapons. So it brings about a new set of questions. But it might not necessarily lead immediately to wars.
To a big war, okay.
Yeah, it could be a new situation. Or if attacked, Iran could retaliate, as it has threatened many times. It could retaliate in the Gulf. Hezbollah could retaliate against Israel directly. Iran could try to retaliate directly against Israel. The US might then get involved in escalating a war against Iran. We could really be in a huge regional international war that involves Iran, the US.
So possibly World War III, maybe?
Not exactly world war, but a large war comparable to the first Gulf War, the invasion of Iraq, things of that nature, which would change the dynamics of the region.
Speaking of Israel, there was the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention in the last 2 weeks, and the U.S. elections are this November. And Democrats resurrected language in their party platform declaring Jerusalem officially the capital of Israel after Republicans accused them of showing weak support to what they call their ally, their biggest ally. So who do you think is going to win this election? And can it affect their foreign policies towards the Middle East? Will it affect, or is there like a system that each one should follow, or is one better than the other?
Better or worse depends, I suppose, where you stand. But the polls currently show that Obama is likely to win the election unless something dramatically changes. If he wins a second term, as is normal, one would not expect a dramatic change in Middle East policy, which has been, first of all, withdrawing troops from the region. In his first term, he withdrew from Iraq. In the second term, he wants to withdraw from Afghanistan. Towards the Arab Spring, the Obama administration has taken a very, I would say, open view. It has welcomed change in Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt, and Yemen. It has worked with new Muslim Brotherhood parties that have won elections in Tunisia and Egypt, and potentially maybe one day in Syria. In Syria, they have, the Obama administration has not taken a very aggressive stand compared to what the Romney administration
Right, he tends
take.
to be very diplomatic and much more, let's negotiate with our enemies approach as opposed to Romney.
Certainly, that's his first instinct, is try to avoid commitment of more U.S. troops and so on, because his point is to withdraw U.S. troops. With regard to Syria, he has provided indirect support, but avoided direct arming of the rebels by the U.S. and certainly avoided a military intervention or no-fly zone. It's possible, however, that in a second term he might be faced with a situation in Syria where, like in Libya, he might be forced to do something. In Iran, he might be forced in his second term, either by Israel or by developments in the Iranian nuclear program, to do something. So even if he wants to stay the same, developments might force him to do something differently. If Romney wins, he will bring back to the White House a number of neoconservatives who had left, even left
such as
the last
George W.
years.
Bush.
People who were with George W. Bush. It's not clear exactly which individuals, but the Republican Party today is very right-wing and very, in its foreign policy, still very neoconservative. That would mean a much more aggressive policy in Syria, a more aggressive policy towards Iran, and a more skeptical policy towards Islamist Muslim Brotherhood governments, whether it's President Morsi in Egypt or Nahda in Tunisia, a Romney administration would be much more negative towards them, and that could cause problems in the region.